What up, folks? It's your pal, Coach Vino, and this is the Glass Half Full podcast where we turn setbacks into comebacks. Let's go.
Yo, everybody goes through setbacks, but don't let these setbacks make you take a step back. Step back from the situation, put your brush down, envision the picture you're faith in, because everybody goes through setbacks.
All right. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Coach Vino, the people's bartender, and your certified coach from the Boogie Down Bronx. So I hope everybody is well since the last time we hung out. I'm doing absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. I have a really great topic I want to talk to you guys about today. It's something that we probably all can relate to a certain extent. And that's this idea of having a chip on your shoulder. Now, a lot of times, that term is used in a very dismissive way, right? It's like, oh, you got a chip on your shoulder. You're carrying a grudge around, or you're being too defensive. But let's take a second to reframe this, right? Let's think about this a little bit differently. What if we think about that chip on our shoulder as kind of a reminder, right? It's a reminder of what you've been through, of what you've overcome, and even maybe what you're capable of, right? That chip might come from being doubted, from being underestimated, being overlooked, being betrayed, whatever the case might be. Maybe someone told you couldn't do something, or maybe you didn't fit the mold, for whatever reason, and you create a chip on your shoulder, right? Whatever it is, that chip isn't a burden. It's really a badge. So today, what I want to talk about is kind of flipping the narrative on having a chip on your shoulder and how we can use it to our benefit. So I want to share something with you, right? So growing up in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, Latino kid from the Bronx, Boricua, shitty circumstances, this, that, and the third. It got in my head a little bit as I got older, right? That doubt, that dismissal, it planted a chip on my shoulder. I say, you know what? These people think I'm just some Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx that grew up in poverty and I ain't shit. I'll show them. And I did everything I could to make sure that I could break any mold and every stereotype that they might have had about folks like me, while still having great pride in who I am. I love being a Puerto Rican kid. I love my culture. I love the circumstances that I was able to overcome. And let me tell you something, as difficult as life was growing up, there was still a lot of love. All the negativity, there was still a lot of love. And so I knew that if I was able to carry that part of it with me, then I'll be all right. But for a while, I let it weigh me down. I let it make me angry, resentful, and sometimes I felt small. But then I realized something. The same chip I thought was holding me back was actually pushing me forward. So I started using that chip as fuel. And every time I felt that someone was doubting me, I added it to the fire. Every time I felt overlooked, I reminded myself of where I came from, what I went through, and what I'm capable of. And that chip hasn't disappeared. Okay? It's always my secret weapon. Even to this day, a little piece of me inside goes, I'll show them. So my point is that reframing the way you think about the chip on your shoulder can have a big difference in how you move forward in life. So let's talk about how you can do the same thing. First, you have to recognize that the chip isn't a bad thing. First of all, you have to recognize that you have a chip, right? And you probably do, at least a little one. But what you have to also recognize is that it's not necessarily a bad thing. Stop seeing it as like a scar. Stop seeing it as a source of pain and anger. No. See it as a source of strength. It's a reminder of where you've been and why you're here right now. Okay? Because that chip has guided you in ways you don't really realize. And next, I want you to ask yourself, what am I going to do with this chip? Am I going to let it make me bitter and angry and sad? Or am I going to let it make me better? Let it find me strength and find me a path forward. Because you can choose to wallow in it and like, oh, why me? You know, why these things happen to me? Why this person do that to me? No. Yeah, sure. Oh, poor baby, right? He's the smallest violin. Vino always carries a small violin with him. Or you could flip that script. And you can ask yourself, yo, why not me? Why shouldn't I be able to rise above all this bullshit and prove everybody wrong? Right? This guy doesn't believe in me. This guy betrayed me. This guy doubted me. Bing, bang, bing. That's all right. I'm going to show all these motherfuckers. Finally, you need to channel that energy into action, okay? You can't just tell yourself these things. You can't just say, oh, man, I'm gonna flip the script here. No, you got to do it. So use that chip to set goals and fuel the hustle, man. Like, I got this. And keep pushing even when things get tough. And every time things get tough, every time you feel like you're giving up, use that chip to remind you of the people who said you couldn't do it. Let it remind you that you're here to prove to them, and most importantly, don't get it twisted, all right? It's about proving yourself wrong. Because when their doubt creeps into your mind and now you start to doubt yourself, that's a double negative, right? So you need to say to yourself, first and foremost, I'm going to prove myself that I can do this. Because, look, you can't convince everybody of your greatness. But you can convince yourself. And that's ultimately the most important part. Because once you convince yourself, you're going to be able to convince the right people. Okay? And those are the people that are going to help you on your path forward. So here's some things, again, to, on a very practical step-by-step basis for harnessing, that energy. Again, number one, you want to acknowledge it, right? Don't ignore or suppress the chip. Write down where it comes from. Keep journals. Journals are very good. They're very useful. And write down the origin of it and why does it matter to you? Why do you have the chip? What is it about that the origin of that chip that matters to you? Okay? And then you're going to set a goal. Turn that chip into something tangible. Whether it's like landing a new job or starting a business or proving your worth to yourself. Just make it specific, okay? Don't just say, oh, I'm gonna show the world. No. What exactly are you gonna show them? Okay? And you gotta take consistent action. You gotta let that chip push you out of bed every morning and keep you grinding long after others have stopped, other people have given up. No, you ain't giving up. That chip is going to be the battery in your back. Okay? And then you want to celebrate your progress. I talk about this all the time. Celebrate the little wins. Every time you achieve something, big or small, you need to celebrate it. Let those wins remind you that chip is working for you. All right? And then last but not least, and this is one I think really helps to turn this chip on your shoulder from a negative to a positive, is when you can help others, right? So pay it forward. Once you've used that chip to rise above where you were before, help someone else do the same. Show them and be the proof that it's possible to rise above the bullshit, to rise above the doubt, the insecurity, the betrayal, whatever it is that put that chip on your shoulder and might be a chip on someone else's shoulder. Show them. Say, yo, you know what? You got this. You show them. So here's what I want to challenge you guys to do, okay? I want you to stop running from that chip on your shoulder. Stop letting that chip on your shoulder weigh you down. Embrace it. Use it. Acknowledge it. Let it be the thing that propels you forward, because that chip's not a burden. It's a battery, dude. It's a blessing. You've got what it takes to rise above, but you have to choose to use it. And not use it as an excuse, but use it as a catalyst. All right, folks. So look, that's all I got for you today. I really hope that this podcast encouraged you to just reflect a little bit on your life, to acknowledge any possible chip on your shoulder that you might have from some negative experiences in your life, and use that to motivate you to be the best version of yourself, because that's the goal here, folks. We're going to turn setbacks into comebacks, and we're going to kick some ass out there. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave a review so you can help Coach Vino feed the hungry algorithm. If you or someone you know would like to work with Coach Vino, you can visit my website, coachvinollc.com. If you know someone that might benefit from listening to today's podcast, go ahead and share with them. Remember, sharing is caring. And remember, folks, when nobody else tells you, Coach Vino appreciate you. Cheers. Express what I'm feeling in a hip-hop form, but I was born to succeed. So as long as I breathe, ain't nobody on this earth gonna crush my dreams. Yo, this might be the end of the verse, but this is just the start of a new beginning. Word.